actually go on.
Okay.
So we'll look on the phone and then it'll show us when it actually goes on. So theoretically speaking, we're live right now. So this is Melissa's first time ever being on the show.
Hi, everyone.
We'll see how we're looking at it on my phone to see how long it actually takes before it goes on. And because there always is a really big lag. So, and there's 5 of you here, Dream Journey and Annie Bear. Let's see. Okay, so now we're live. Can someone tell me if you can hear us pretty decently? Hi, Scorpio Mama. Can you hear us? Because I'm having some technical difficulties because of the weather, I think. So I'm just kind of curious if you can hear us pretty decent or what. Okay, cool. Yes, you can hear great. Okay. So Melissa and I decided that we were going to do this couch talk. And when we sat down, and because, I've never done it from this angle, and then somebody, so let me show you, decided that he was going to sit with us. So Atticus is here snoring away. So if you hear him, that's what it is. Okay. And so a lot of you guys have been with me for a long time. I mean, I started this journey over 2 years ago. I would say it was in 2020 when I first started my channel. And then I'm going to do something kind of different. So I have my phone, and that way, because it's too far away, and I'm going to answer from here. And then kind of, if I can, everybody's all, hi, Atticus. So what we're going to do is, first I'm going to introduce Melissa in a little bit. And, just kind of tell you some things. So some of you guys have been with me for a really long time. And there's a little glitch. It keeps coming out. Hi, Vivian. Hope you're doing good, my love.
Hi, Vivian.
So, but yeah, it's going to be a little different today. Everybody knows kind of my past and some things that have happened in the near future. And so, I've been out of the loop of YouTube for a while, and the reasons kind of why, and some of you that don't, I'm going to share tonight. But I really had a hard time coming back because I know I needed to change something up, and I wasn't really sure what it was and what it was going to look like. And, I don't want to continue to do the same thing. So I was really struggling with what I was going to talk about. And, I'm because of the major thing that happened, and we'll talk about that pretty soon, I decided, okay, Dark Night of the Soul, because we all go through that. And so last night I had Anthony on. So if you haven't seen that, go and check that out, because I thought it was really good. And a lot of you wanted back. And he says he will come back, which is great. I don't know why it looks so fuzzy in my camera. So we're kind of fuzzy. I think it's just the weather because it's nasty. But so anyways, this is Melissa.
Hi, everyone.
And we figured, that, hi, Seascape, how are you? We figured, or I figured that the Dark Night of the Soul, sometimes I say Black Night because it really feels that way, really dark and nasty. And then last night it kind of left me hanging with, well, what else can we do? And I thought about Melissa because, both of us have gone through some stuff, and literally this is what we do every night. And so I was like, hey, you want to come talk about, Black or Dark Night of the Soul and how to get through that? And she's like, yeah, let's do it. So we figured we'd start off by explaining how we met. So you want to go first, or you want me to?
You can go first.
Okay.
I'll follow your lead.
I really do not know what was going on in my head. I just know it wasn't a very good place. So we met once, and it was just kind of in passing. And I think I was just really stressed out. And then I was just like, yeah, okay, hi, lady. And that was kind of my
That was
attitude.
me forcing myself on Atticus because I'm a dog lover, and I just had to go over and say hi to Atticus,
Was-
and that was about it. And I was like, "Hey, whoever Atticus's owner is, how you doing?" That was it. We kind of parted ways.
And then it was, I don't even know how long it was, where it happened again, where we were in the parking lot. She came up to me. She started talking to me. I was in my own world, stressed out. Someone's talking to me. I really, really can't deal with it right now. And then she said,
I said, "Oh, what's that on your wrist?" I said, "Are those the chakras?"
and I said, oh, yeah, I'm shocked you know, because most people think it's a lesbian tattoo. And she laughed, said, no.
And we kind of had this connection where we were like, "Oh, do you feel what I feel? Like you're my person, like you're one of my people." And we talked a little bit. We totally connected. And I remember her saying, we're supposed to do something together. And she said something to me like, "Oh, you're gonna figure out, or you're gonna repay me with your gifts." And I was like, "What gifts? I have no gifts. What the heck is she talking about?" I'm like, "This is gonna be a one-way relationship." And it actually hasn't been. And Karen has been very instrumental in helping me find my own spirituality, which I had not had my whole life. And by watching her and listening to her and seeing what her gifts were, I realized that I had my own. And it really came about in my journey to undo all the layers of conditioning that had been put on me from society and from myself and from my upbringing. And in having our conversations every night, I was able to talk through them and really dig into them and find out where they came from. And one of the things we wanted to focus on is the whole like self-worth, right? That going through the journey of finding your own self-worth means you have to go visit the dark night of the soul, which is scary. I've been there. I was there at Christmas time. And let me tell you, I've done a lot of therapy, and my therapist was like, "Oh, you're going to hit rock bottom." And I was like, "Oh, this has got to be rock bottom." And then like a week later, it went even deeper. And I was like, "If this isn't rock bottom, I don't think I'm going to make it." And she goes, "Oh, I forgot to tell you, there's one more step in that process." And I'm like, "So this is it? Can I be done?" Because I am done. And going through that at that moment in time, I started to come out of the darkness. And it was actually a lot faster than it was going down into the darkness. And people who see me now, who've known me my whole life, and in the past 3 months, they're like, "Oh my God, really?" It's taking some of my family members a little bit to get used to me, because I was a shell of myself. And we can talk more about how that happened. And now I'm like, "Yay, yay, happy, happy, joy, joy," joking all the time. And my mother's like, "You're up here all the time." And I'm like, "But I'm dancing up here." And so I have, it has felt like a resurrection is the best way to put it.
Well, and that was something that we talked about last night, was sometimes, it feels like a leveling up. I mean, in the moment that you're going through it. And I guess I'll start with me. I mean, mine started 2 years ago. I moved here. I left everything I knew for 40 years to move to Massachusetts. It really was, we're doing a little glitching, and I'm aware that, like I said, I think it's the weather. But so anyways, I moved to Massachusetts, and those of you that have been in my life for the last year and a half, I had a partner, he had a heart transplant. And in that time, it was a really, really rough time for me. We're glitching again. So it was a really rough time for me because, and that's actually the time that I met you.
Yeah, it
really
was right
met
before
you.
Joe went into the
Went
hospital.
into the
It got really
hospital.
bad. Yeah.
Because I was working a lot. Dream Journey, Mrs. Colorado too. I was working a lot. And, I think she caught me in that time where I don't even know how it happened, but she was like, have you eaten? And I thought about it and I'm like, shit, I don't even remember the last time I ate. And so she started cooking me dinner and she'd be like, what time are you going to be home? And that's how our relationship kind of started. And I started realizing that, yeah, I always believe that you meet people for a reason. I firmly believe that you meet people for a reason and people are put into your life. And sometimes you're the teacher and sometimes you're the student and sometimes you play both roles. And so for me, Melissa really was my caregiver at that time because I would just go to work. I was struggling with life. I was struggling around everything. And I started realizing that I wasn't happy, and I really want to say thank you to all the people that donated to the GoFundMe. It's closed now. But that donated to the GoFundMe because you really financially helped me out more than you know. And she helped me out because I would have starved to death,
I love to cook.
Yeah. So in that process, I just realized that I wasn't really happy. I'm torn about Mass. I like it. It's beautiful, but I miss home. I think about going back but Spirit brought me here, God, whoever you want to say. And so, I have to check the comments. I have to walk the dog. It is pouring outside, Seascape. But so anyways, that's when I really hit my low point, I think, where I started realizing that in the past 2 years, there were moments in time where I was looking at my past and really processing things and why I did the things that I did. I couldn't, I felt bad that I was feeling the way I did. And people would tell me it's perfectly normal with the thing that you're going through, him having a heart transplant, processing through all of that. And the reality is I kind of kept this on the down low, but Spirit has a way of working things out sometimes. Oh, thank you. Annie Bear said, I saw you in the chat when Joe was in the hospital. I'm so glad you're where you are. Yeah. I think it's funny that Spirit has a way to work things out sometimes when you leave it to Spirit. And I said, how am I going to walk away from this person that is a very nice person and he's a very good man, but he's, I started to realize that he's not my person. Hi, Spirit Watcher Suzanne. How am I going to walk away from this person that just had gone through this? And I emotionally cannot do that. That's not something that you do. And it ended up that, to cut to the chase, when he came home from the hospital, I basically told him that I felt like we were roommates and that this was really intense for me. And I did think he was going to pass. Now he's home. I'm trying to process through all of this. Melissa and I went to dinner. I didn't feel like coming home. I dropped her off. He saw her in the elevator. He made assumptions. And he basically found somebody else. And so while I'm guessing that when he was in the hospital, he was probably talking to this person and made it official when I told him how I felt. And so Spirit allowed me to walk out of that relationship, but it really forced me to look at what was important, what I wanted, and that I won't settle. I'm not going to settle. And so for me, I think that was my tipping point and my turning point of the dark night of the soul. And it really, I think one of the things, and it really makes you realize, um, like all those past things that people tell you, like you're not enough or you don't do enough, or even, and I'm not saying this happened to me. I mean, certain things did for sure, but I'm throwing it out there of people that I've been doing readings for, and this is the things that I'm hearing. Sexually, they don't want you. They make you feel less than. They make you feel like you're not good enough. They make you feel like, your accent makes you feel like a hick. That in any way that they can put you down and treat you like crap. And I think that's the hardest for me anyways. That was the hardest part to kind of sort through and process through.
Yeah. And I have to say, I watched Karen do all of this. And I think in that process, it's like when you're walking away from someone that's not good for you, you're actually hopefully walking towards yourself, which is what she did by saying, I'm going to be by myself for a while. And I think that's part of the process of figuring out your shit, and saying, this wasn't good for me. What is good for me? What do I need right now? And sometimes you don't exactly know, but if you go inward and you pay attention to your heart, so I had a chronic illness for 15 years and I became very in tune with every feeling in my body. A lot of it was bad. A lot of it was pain. And so I've learned to now pay attention to my emotions, because they're messages to you and what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And I had my whole life, because I came from a family of 6 kids. I'm the second of 6 kids, 5 girls and a boy. Boy's the youngest. I grew up in Massachusetts. We did not talk didn't talk about if someone upset us. We weren't truthful about how we felt. And when you don't speak about that, which is a form of vulnerability, which I think is huge in getting through the process of understanding yourself, you hold it inside and you suck it down and it becomes stuck energy in your body. And that, I think, started my process of being sick, but I think it also kept me sick for a long time. And I did a lot of physical treatments. Like my journey was, I had chronic Lyme disease, but it took them 10 years to diagnose me. So at that point I was so bad, I almost died. I couldn't eat anything. I couldn't get out of bed for weeks. And I realized that it wasn't just physical healing that I needed to do. It was mind, body, spirit healing. And when I started and I calmed my body down, because I was in fight and flight all the time, during those meditations, I actually felt release of energy, like actual popping in my stomach and just this tingling for days. And it was all those things I had held back, the emotion I held back in my past. And one of the major ones that I would say is the key component of my story is when I was 17, I got pregnant. And my family was very well known in town. I lived in a small town. The relatives owned multiple businesses. My parents, my father and my grandfather owned a business. Like in the center of town, it was a liquor store, package store. Everyone went there. And I felt like I brought an enormous amount of shame on my family, because here I was pregnant at 16. And I decided to have my son, and I gave him up for adoption. And my parents gave me the choice to either go away somewhere or to homeschool or to go to school. And I said, I'm not leaving school. That's where all my friends are. So I went 9 months pregnant, walking the halls of the school. And I don't know where it came from, but I just didn't let what people thought of me bother me. But what I did do was I was like, I just screwed up royally. I have to be perfect from here on out. And so the rest of my life until about a year ago was trying to be perfect. And man, is that a burden. And now I've realized it's taken a while to accept this, but I am perfect. I am human. We all have our story. we all have the stuff that make us feel like we're ashamed of ourselves, or guilt, of like, oh gosh, I didn't do that right. I feel like a horrible person. I walked through my life after that moment saying, I could only see what I wasn't good at. I could never see what I was good at. And then my son came back 4 years ago. He found me through 23andMe and through my cousin. And he's this beautiful young man. He was 31 at the time. And we met. The first time we met, I was like, oh my God, he's got my eyes. This is obviously my son. But on my birthday, which was the third time we met, we were having breakfast. And he looked at me and he said, you gave me this picture of you and my birth father. And he said, I'm realizing I have my birth father's stature, but I have your heart and your mind. And I was like, he is such an amazing person. I'm like, holy cow, he does. And what a beautiful thing. Like, I've never seen the beauty in that. And that was the turning point. I was like, Melissa, you need to start paying attention to this. And from that moment on, I ended up reevaluating. I had this beautiful relationship with him. My husband was excited at first. He knew about him. I had told him about him when we had first met, and we had been married for 20 years at that point, 20 years. And he was excited at first, and then he became excessively jealous because I was had emotional connection with my son, and my husband was not able to go there. He couldn't show his emotions. He couldn't show me any empathy or care for me in the way that I needed to and give me comfort while I was very ill, which put a lot of strain on a relationship. I mean, I was ill for 15 years. And I went to therapy, and I realized that I was in this marriage because he had provided me things at the time I met him that I needed, because I was relinquishing my power over myself, because I was like, you've made bad decisions in your life, and so let someone else take care of it. And in that process, I lost myself. I lost my voice. I tried to speak, was never heard. I was a little bit different. This was a person who revered me for my physical beauty. And that's what I felt like my value was to him. But when I spoke about things that meant something to me, like how we raised our kids and how I didn't want to shame and guilt our kids, because you lose your self-worth in that process. And I didn't want my young girls to not see their worth and be able to be who they were. It led to eventually, it took about 2 years, a year and a half, where I decided I had to leave my marriage. And I started to really become, as my husband called me, kumbaya. And he was like, I don't know who this person is, but I don't like it. Like, it's frustrating to me. And I was like, we are like opposite sides of the spectrum, very differently. And I ended up leaving. It took me a while to figure it out, but I ended up leaving just about a little over a year ago. And we've been divorced for a couple months. And my girls, who are now 19 and 16, have said to me, Mom, you're a hero. Like, we're so proud of you for making that hard decision. They saw the tension. They felt like there was no foundation underneath them, because he would say one thing and I would say something else. And I was like, I have to leave because I cannot show my children that this is an okay relationship to be in, because then they'll end up in one and they will lose themselves. And so since I've left, all four of us have done some healing, and my girls are coming into their own and using their voice with their father and with other people. My 19-year-old daughter is saying to guys, hey, back off. That's not okay. What would your girlfriend think if you were flirting with me? That sort of thing. And I'm like, I couldn't do that when I was 19. And she's like, Mom, I learned this from watching you. And so the hardness has brought such amazing things, not only for me, but for my family. And now I've found my passion and my purpose. And Karen has helped me do that. And she's going to be doing it with me. This is part of it. And I've become the spiritual woman who I became a certified meditation coach and Ayurvedic health instructor. And I've learned this healing touch. That is one of my spiritual gifts that I learned from watching Karen. Didn't know I had the ability to do it. Now I I can, and I want to serve others. And so I'm going to be starting a fun healing retreat and event center where there's going to be meditation, Reiki, psychic readings, yoga, little weddings, food truck festivals, fall festivals, winter festivals, and teepees in the woods, teepees in the fields of this farm I'm buying. That was my grandparents, and tree houses. And I want people to come find themselves and have some peace and enjoy the amazing nature and have some freaking fun at the same time. So I'm going to stop on that.
So for those of you that are just coming in, I'm not being rude. I'm sitting too far away to watch the comments, but some of them were, thank you, Karen and Melissa, for doing this. That's a lot of pressure, guilt and shame, sure like to hang out together.
Mm-hmm.
That is so awesomely beautiful. Thank you for sharing the immense growth. Wow, talk about lead by example. Good mom and bravo. And I think I would ask you if you had to pick one or two things that you could think that you did on your own for your own personal self-growth, or even to, there was the word we both used and I can't think of it now, but learning to love yourself. What would that have been for you?
So what was very transformative for me was to leave a family that I took care of while I was sick and while I was working as well, a pretty high pressure sales manager job in financial services. And I moved into an apartment by myself. And damn, it was great. I mean, I had a lot of time to myself. I was not working at the time because I'd been on disability for 3 years. And I went for walks in the woods and I sat and I talked to myself. And during those times where I could feel the guilt of leaving my family, and my therapist was key in this, I realized it wasn't just me. Like, it wasn't, all this was not on me. My husband played a role in it. And that was huge because the guilt, making decisions from guilt get you nowhere but more guilt.
Yeah.
And I think it was also when I felt myself being really hard on myself, going back to the, you're not doing this well, you're not doing this well. Or you caused pain for these people. I sat there and I went, Melissa, if your best friend was sitting here telling you this, how would you treat them? Treat yourself that way. And I would give myself a hug and say, it's okay. It's like being the mother to your child. You're like, it's going to be okay. You're a good person. You're doing the best you can. People make mistakes. Like, the shame part for me was huge. And I just to share a little bit more, I was 16 when I got pregnant. And when I was 22, I got pregnant again. And I still was not mature enough to feel like I could take care of a child. So I decided to have an abortion. So I've given up a child and I've had an abortion. It was easier to have an abortion than it is to give up a baby. Literally, it's like breaking your own heart because you love someone so much. And I sucked that down. And I went through this process of, when he came back into my life, literally one night I just cried all night long because I was like, this has been inside of me and I need to let it out. It came up when he was asking me what it was like. My son was asking me what it was like to give him up. And I was so overwhelmed with joy that he showed up. I didn't realize there was another part to this that I was yet to be uncovered. And that was, I started talking to him about it. And all this grief came out that I had never really felt. And I think it's like letting yourself feel the hard things, even though it feels like it's going to break your heart. Because I released it, energy left my body, and those layers, those stuck parts had kept me sick, and I started to heal. And the last piece of that was leaving my husband, because I was never good enough. I was never And he's not a bad man. It was just, he'd walk in and there'd be disappointment that I couldn't get up and do something, or that the kids weren't doing something that he wanted them to. He's very focused on academic achievement and success because that's the world he grew up in. And about 6 months after I left, I was having a therapy session, and my therapist said, "So when did you start feeling better, Melissa?" And I said, "In February." And then she's like, "When did you leave your husband?" And I said, "In February." And she goes, "Interesting, isn't that?" And I was like, I think I kind of knew that I needed to do this to be able to just heal. And here I'm so much better than I was, and able to now really live my life the way I want to live my life. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good.
I think for me personally, was just facing, like, for so many years I would, because those of you that know, I mean, I raised 13 kids, so I didn't feel like I had time to process a lot of stuff. I didn't have 13. I just raised 13. Dream Journey says, not an easy decision. You did what you felt was right for you. But I think for me, it was like, I was always the person that was caring for everybody else. So I didn't have time to really, focus on things. I was married. This was a while back. He died on a motorcycle accident. I didn't even realize that because I was so worried about all the kids. And it wasn't until my daughter was a speaker for Mothers Against Drunk Driving that when I was listening to her story, that was the first time. And that was maybe 6 years after it happened that I had processed. But I've just been always a caregiver, to my mom, to all the 13 kids. My jobs have always been caregiving. So I never really took time for me. So it's been really huge for me to really have really nice boundaries, and I'm still people's cheerleader.
Yeah.
I will still cheerlead, but I used to be the person that would be like, okay, let me drop everything that I'm doing for me.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And let me go take care of you.
Yeah.
And
did you ever get angry?
No,
I get angry.
You want to know why I didn't get angry? Because that's how I found my self-worth.
Yes. And so we talk about boundaries with the kids. For me, it was, my kids would be like, "Can you drive me here? Can you drive me here?" And I did. And I would just be like, "Yep, sure." Like 5 minutes before, I'd take them places. And then I found myself getting angry. And my therapist was like, anger is embrace your anger. It is setting a limit. It's telling you need to set a limit. And I was like, why am I so angry? And then I was like, I'm angry because I am not doing anything for myself, and I'm doing everything for them. And I started saying, they were like, "Mom, can you take me to my friend's house in 5 minutes?" I'd be like, "It's 3:00. I can take you at 5. If not, if that doesn't work, then you can find your own ride. And if you can't find your own ride, you can't go." And they figured it out. And I was like, oh, this is what setting a boundary is. And now they're like, I'm like, I wish I had known this when they were little, because now they listen to me more than they used to, because I didn't have any boundaries. And I'd say, "We're not going to do this because you just did that." And then I take them. And they're like, "Okay, well, I don't have to listen to her." And then I'd be upset. So
yeah, for me, it was just, I think that's the thing that I'm noticing now, is really taking that time out to, work consumes me a lot. But my time is very precious to me.
Yeah.
And even if it's just sitting on the couch doing nothing, because I'm always going,
Yeah.
it's like I'm finally realizing that I have to put me first. And that has been a blessing in itself, that the only person I have to take care of is Atticus, who, if you didn't catch it, and I'll show it again, he has decided that he wanted to, and he's decided that he wanted to lay right in the middle of us, because we were going to sit closer. So Yeah, so that's what it was. So, but yeah, that I just have to take care of him and really learn how to take care of myself.
Well, I think self-care is a huge part of self-worth, right? You
Mhm.
have to feel worth the time to take care of yourself. And we are just not taught to do that in this society.
No, we don't learn how to
Yeah.
take care of ourselves.
And I was forced to because I was sick. And I would make lists like 20 things long in a day and never accomplish them. And there were days I was like, I'm not making a list. I got out of bed today and I took a shower. I might have spent the whole day on the couch, but I took a shower. And that was self-care. And now I have to be very protective of myself. Oh, something good just came in. What are we hearing?
Dream Journey has me cracking up because Dream Journey says, I love to tell myself that even when I look like I'm doing nothing on a cellular level, I'm really quite busy. I love that.
Yes, your body is busy resting because your body needs rest.
Yeah.
It's like,
Hi, Ian. Hope you're doing good. Yeah, I think one of the things that I'm realizing now is I've always said it to my clients that I do readings for. You know how you say something, but you don't really take your own advice? And that is to not let the past define me. You know, I will not allow my past to define me. I can't change it. I can't do anything. And in that, what I started doing was processing every single thing that I have heard throughout my life that was a negative. You know, those things like you'll never find anybody that loves you.
Yeah.
You know, you're mean. What? And me, like me.
What are you talking about?
No, me. But and you know, I one time had this person tell me, I thought you were going to be more spiritual, and I'm thinking, like, what do you want me to do? Walk on water? You know, I
Teleport. Levitate.
Levitate. You know, so it for me, it really was about breaking down all of those. I always say it's like a spirit always, you know, my guides always show me like this milk crate. And it's like you hear this as a kid, you know, you're not, you know, you're stupid or you're dumb, you know, you can't get anything right. And all of these things that you put in that become who you are. And I think that was so profound for me to really break that apart and say, well, I'm not stupid. You know, I may not have a college degree, but you know, I'm a licensed barber, I'm a licensed esthetician, I'm a licensed nail tech. You know, I've taught that before. I work with people with disabilities. You know, I've done that for so long. And to really just kind of break all of those things down. And that was really huge for me. And especially in those relationships and that are supposed to mean so much. The ones that are like, I love that. Melissa says, good Lord, you're not responsible for anybody else's fantasy narrative. That's right.
Amen.
Amen. You're not, you know, but it's, and I think it's harder when it's your partner that's telling you these things. Yeah. You know, when your partner is telling you you're not worth enough and you're not, you know, and it really took a lot for me to process. That was not my stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that was their incapacity to talk about the hard stuff or to deal with certain things. And so, and I'm finding now that the more I process and the more that I heal, he's getting up.
We're like, this is moving. So are we.
Stay.
We good?
You know,
Okay.
Okay, you're good. We're like, he's gonna check.
I'm just gonna knock everything down.
You know, the more I heal, the less patient I am with having someone in my life. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Because I'm not willing to settle.
Right. And I think it has to be the right person, because if it's the right person, I think it's having your own space and being like, I want to do things on my schedule for a change.
Yeah.
I want to put myself first. I think that, what were you talking about? Being worried about what other people think about you.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, I was worried about, I think one of the things as a kid, because there were so many kids in my family and we didn't talk about our emotions,
No.
feeling like I was not good enough. I was always trying to get validation, appreciation, affection, acceptance. And because that was not articulated, I was trying to do things and I worked myself to the bone and tried to be the best at everything. And I still didn't get it. And I was like, I'm killing myself here. And it's like, I got to give it to myself. And so in my journey of self-rediscovery, resurrection, I started to say, don't worry about what other people think, unless it's about what you think. And if you have this negative reel in your mind, that's not going to help you. So what do you like about yourself? Look at how far you've come. You were sick for 15 years. You kept going to doctor to doctor to doctor, trying alternative, because I was like, I know there's an answer to this. I know there's a way to fix this. I just don't know how it is. And being open and curious about that. And then going back and saying, wow, you went away for 10 weeks by yourself to a clinic in Arizona, deathly ill, and left your kids at Christmas time, spent a lot of money to take care of yourself, and look at the progress you've made now. And you did that. You did that with the help of really supportive people in your life, but you're the one who had to make it happen and be an advocate for yourself. So whenever I feel like crap, or I start thinking, oh God, what is that person thinking of me? I'm like, what do you think of yourself, Melissa? And to the good things. But the other thing that's really important is to embrace my therapist said this. She goes, oh, you're only halfway there, Melissa. She's like, you can love the great parts about yourself, but to truly love yourself, you have to embrace your shadow, and you have to accept that you have a temper. And when your mother pisses you off, you throw a little tantrum and you walk out the door on Easter and you go, I got to go breathe. I got to take a walk, and I got to do that differently the next time. So, and I go to beating myself up and going, oh my God, why did I do that? It's like, because this is who you are. You are passion and fire, and you fight for justice. But your mom may never hear you. So figure out a way to say, when you say this to me, Mom, it makes me feel this way. And this is setting a boundary. And it feels disrespectful. And if you can't change the way you talk to me, I'm going to have to just go find my own space, because it's too toxic isn't the word I might use with her, but it feels toxic to me, because it feels like I'm not being accepted for who I am. And I really love who I am. And I'm like, because you think I'm too much. And one of my uncles the other day said to me, she just never stops talking, right in front of me, in front of a group of people. And I laughed and I went, truth, there's some truth to that, but you could have said it maybe in a different way. And then I just laugh. And I think the ability to laugh at yourself is huge. You got to be able to say, who cares? This is who I am. If you can't take it, maybe we don't hang out as much anymore, and figuring out that boundary and who the people are around you.
Some people are, I can't, like I said, I can't read it that far away. But Jane, the Seeker Tarot, passed by and she said, I just wanted to stop by and tell you that I'm really enjoying this series. Mm-hmm. Blessings, and catch the replay. Vivian says, me too, enjoying the topic. Annie Barris says, if we grow, we outgrow the scripts. And that is 100% true. And I think that, something that Anthony said last night was, you have to, he talked about playing the I am statements and recording it on your phone and looping it at nighttime. I am worthy. I am strong. I am a survivor. I am, I am love. I am light. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. I am anything, I am capable. I am, a beautiful soul. I mean, I think all too often, we don't hear that. That lag is killing me. It's really ucky outside. But it really is just, I think my advice to anybody going through those hard times is the worst thing that I did was just push through it.
Right.
I just got to push through it. If I don't focus on it,
Distract.
Yeah. I'm worrying about the kids. I'm worrying about the relationship. I'm worrying about work. I'm worrying about the dogs. I'm worrying about the, just everything. And so now for the first time, it's like, there is nothing in my life to worry about except for who's going to cover what shift at work. Yeah.
Karen is going to cover the shift at work.
Karen's
And that's
people.
why I cook for her and I clean for her, because I'm not working full time. I'm moving into a new business and I'm moving. And so I'm taking my time to take care of myself and get myself really healthy. And I do love taking care of people, as long as it doesn't mean I have to sacrifice taking care of myself.
Yeah.
And Karen takes care of me too. She bought dinner tonight. She gives me foot massages.
We
Everything's
joke
great.
around that we swear people think, we're a couple.
They do. It's hysterical. We play into it too out in the parking lot. We'll give each other hugs. And we know, we're like, oh, that person's spreading that rumor through because we live in the same apartment building. And that's how we met, in the parking lot of the apartment building.
Annie Bear says, I've told someone I love that I will not play nurse to your petulant child role. That's the drama you do with your mom, not me. And I am responsible for my actions, and so are you. I was
Good for you.
Good for you. I was told the other day, which, do you remember when I sent you that? I sent her a screenshot because I was
Oh, yes.
so livid.
I was like, go, Karen, go.
And Joe basically sent me a screenshot that said, you ruined my life. And I think I came through the roof because, I don't understand how I could have ruined his life when I helped him through having a heart transplant. But hey, I think I said something along the lines of,
I think you used a swear word.
I did use a swear
I
word.
loved it. And I was like, good. I'm not the only potty mouth around here.
I said something rather, but I just told him, stop playing the victim, because that's not, I refuse to be the bad guy in someone's story. I don't step on anybody. I don't treat anybody with disrespect or do it harmful, but it's never my intent. But it really is calling somebody out on their bad behavior and knowing your boundaries. And and for me, I think right now it's just like,
You're great. You're using your voice. I mean, I think it's finding our voice, and I love this saying that I learned in my training from a meditation and Ayurvedic lifestyle. Think with your heart and love with your mind. And it's like your thoughts come from your heart, because that's where you should make your decisions, at least in my opinion. And then your mind allows you to speak it. When you speak from your heart, you speak your truth. And then that's how you set your boundaries. And I look at Joe and I go, there's a part of me that's very sad for him, because he's not taking accountability for himself. He's trying to put that on other people, that his pain and struggle is because of someone else. And my therapist is like my best friend. I mean, thank God I have therapy. Karen's doing this all without a therapist. I'm like, I need someone to show me the way. She's like, Melissa, and this is one of these where your therapist tells you the hard thing and you're like, my response was, why can't everyone else do their damn work? Why do I have to be the one to do the work? And she's like, Melissa, you can't control anyone else. You can only control yourself. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the things that bring you your emotions and you have an awareness of what it is that's causing it, and you can make a different choice. And I feel meditation is huge in this because it allows you to take a step back and you can see your choices and you can go, I don't want to make that choice anymore because it pisses me off. I'm going to make a different choice. I have found that the way I show up actually influences the way other people show up, and they can choose to dance with me in a beautiful way, or they can choose to stomp their feet and go somewhere else. And it was amazing to see how my kids responded differently to me. My husband did not respond. I mean, he responded differently, and he just got more frustrated and angry with me. And that was just a sign, like, okay, I'm evolving in my journey, and he's here, and that doesn't work for us to be together, because this is not together. This is together, so that, how you choose to treat yourself and live your life will bring your people into your space, and it will leave the other people behind. And I think Joe is one of those people who is not evolving. And I feel sad because he's been given a second chance at life with his heart, because literally it was 1 in a million chance that he was going to get a heart transplant in time to live. And he's still doing things the same way. And I'm like, God, you just got this gift and you're not using it, And I really try not to judge people. I mean, that's part of being human, but I just try to say there's pain and struggle there that he's unable to work through. And that makes me sad that that's the case.
Yeah. So I wanted to go to
doing awesome things for themselves.
Yeah. Men go through these things too, and it's very painful. And I would 100% agree, Annie. And this is just my opinion. And it's not, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. I think that men, and I said this to one of my friends that I was talking to, I think the society does an injustice for men.
Absolutely. I
think we teach them how to be strong, don't cry, don't have emotion. And then it's funny to me it's funny to me as females, because we want them to have emotion. We want them to be vulnerable. And we've kind of blurred those lines up. And I think that as a whole, our society is kind of shaken up in the aspect that, being back on the dating scene, I think that it's sad because, we don't really pay, it's this whole, the way I'm going to say this isn't probably going to piss some people off. And I don't really mean it this way. It's like, we're so preoccupied with what a woman is going through that we don't stop to think about what men are going through. And men are hurting. Haven't allowed men to have those hard conversations, and we've stumped them down as young men and made them to try to be tough, that even they cannot say I'm hurting. They can't say I'm hurting. They can't cry. They can't have
I mean, they're supposed to be strong, and they're supposed to achieve, and they're supposed to make money, and there's all their own layer of conditioning for men, different than women. And they can't, with my personal experience with my ex-husband was, he could not hold my emotion, and I'm a Pisces, and I got a lot of emotion, because he didn't know how to deal with his own. So how are you supposed to be able to understand and hold someone else's when you can't? And one of my things, at this retreat center that I'm setting up, and is I have a man in my life who, is going through the dark night of the soul right now. I mean, I hadn't heard from him in 5 days, and I was like, something's going on. He called me today. It's like, oh my God, I can't make a decision. I'm stuck. And, he is a successful business. He's worked. He had 2 kids, got divorced. Like, he didn't miss out on his kids' childhood, doesn't have a great relationship with his kids. And I've said to him, like, I think women have hard conversations with each other. We open up and talk about things. Men don't do that. And I've gone around and talked to a lot of mainly middle-aged men, but also younger generation too. And they're a bit more open to it. I'm like, you guys are coming to my place and we are sitting down, and I'm going to be like, okay, I'm going to be vulnerable in front of you. This is what it looks like. I know you guys have a hard time dealing with your emotions, but there's other men who are going through the same thing you are and feeling the same thing. And you guys don't have the hard conversations.
No.
And they look at me and they go, no, we don't. I'm like, I think you need to start having the hard conversation. They're like, you're right. I'm like, so I'm setting up a fire pit and I'm bringing in some beer and I'm bringing in some pizza and I'm bringing in a peace pipe and I'm bringing in a humidor. I'm pretty much targeting a certain group of men, like who I think are the like toughest, closed off people, which they really aren't, to be honest with you, as I get to know them. And but they are more open now to say, yes, this is what has been freaking killing me. I need to get this off my chest. And of course, my friend Bruce, like, I'm going to talk to you. You're going to talk to them because you're a spiritual guy and you are vulnerable. And he is just this, you know, he's going through his own work. He's curious. He's spiritual. He's like, what did my horoscopes say today? Death. And I said, not death, but said you're stuck. You were stuck. And he's like, what's my horoscope? I'm like, I just thought that you like, you know, you pay attention to that stuff because I read my horoscope every day. But anyway, I think men have their own baggage to carry that I would love to find ways to have them have a community and a resource that they're comfortable in to open up and work through that. Because I think you process it when you say it out loud and you talk to other people who go, oh, you're human too? You got divorced 2 times? You know, you had an affair? It's like, yeah, a lot of people do. And you're not a bad person because of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
No, I really feel, you know, and for me, the ultimate cheerleader, you know, because
oh, hell yeah.
I am like, I tell people how this is going to sound so weird, but I do. Here, you want to see the comments?
I'm kind of reading on screen. Yeah, sure.
You
talk.
You know, I am the ultimate cheerleader. I do think that people need to know that they're important. And I do, you know, I was talking to someone today and I did some cheerleading because I really was impressed. And, you know, I just wanted that person to know that, you know, they're doing a good job. Vivian says,
I hear the dog snoring.
Oh, he's snoring big time. And he's pushing up against me.
Yes. We're both getting like
further apart. I'm going to be over there. You know, I think that men need to hear that they are important.
Yes.
And I think men need to hear that they are, you know, doing a good job. And it's hard because those of us with kind, beautiful souls, you know, some of us have been trampled on and stomped on that we really, truly don't believe our own self-worth. So I think it's, you know, and this is my own, what I am kind of seeing. Men still got, what's Ian saying?
Men have still got a heart and a soul. Many men have got beautiful souls, but some men who have good hearts and souls, when they get them hurt, they get confused when they think it was not needed to hurt.
I would agree.
I do too.
And that is kind of where I'm going. So then you have, you know, and I say people, but it works both ways. I think that those of us who are kind, gentle hearts, you know, we get stomped on and then we're not good for the next person because we haven't worked through our issues.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, my guides always show me someone that's been cut all the way across here and they go up and hug somebody. And now they've put that, you know, they've kind of shared that blood across. But I think that it is important to tell people. And some people think I'm crazy. I will tell you in a heartbeat. Well, I won't lie to you. If you're not a good soul, I'm not going to say you're a good soul. Okay. I mean, I'll just be like,
truth only.
Truth only.
Maybe not the details.
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't say, you know, I tell it like it is, you know. I mean, I think it's important that, you know, you tell the person next to you that they're doing good. I think it's important to tell the person, and how, if I tell you that I love you, and I tell you that you're important in my life, and I tell you thank you for showing up, how you decide to take that is not my business,
Right.
you know, but I need you to know that spirit brought you into my life for a reason. And I'm just going to treat you how I would like to be treated. And that's how I'm naturally.
Right. Yes. And I think the rule, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think telling the truth sometimes can be it's having the hard conversations in a
Mhm.
compassionate and gentle way. And it's also being supportive of people like this Bruce, this guy I'm talking about. He is my biggest supporter, cheerleader, admirer. He told me I was the most inspiring woman he's met. And I feel the same way about him and tell him that all the time. And he really needs to hear that because he's dealing with his self-worth right now. He's like, I've got a black heart. And I was like, oh, honey.
But, you know, and I think that because of the fact that we've always been trampled on and we have these bad relationships, that we cannot accept that.
Yes. And I think part of not being able to accept, and you're talking about someone being your supporter.
Yeah, it's hard when you've been,
because you don't think you're worth it.
exactly.
You don't think you're worth
you don't
it.
think you're worth
Yeah.
it. So man, what is up with all the fire ambulances and I don't know what's going on here.
Let's lock the doors and stay in the apartments.
You know, I think that until you find, you know, like there was a time in my life where someone would give me a compliment and I was just like, thank you.
Yeah. That's
You know,
not true. That's not
that's
true. What
not-
are you talking about?
Oh, you know what I've realized that I've said is when people are like, oh my gosh, you know, like with reading or something like that. And they're like, oh my gosh, you're so amazing. I'm like, I'm just average.
Well, we got to work on that, sister. Next session.
I'm bad. I'm like, I'm just average.
Oh my gosh. Well, people have said to me, and this is where I'm like, because I think the other thing is, I feel like if I talk about myself in a positive way, it feels conceited. And that, I think we need to change that because I'm not saying bragging. And I think it's accepting a compliment. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, people will be like, oh, you're beautiful. And I'd be like, oh my gosh. You know, now they'll say, and I'll be like, thank you very much. You know, or if I get, you know, someone makes some comment that's from a man that I'm kind of like, oh gosh, I don't know how to take this. I'll just be like, you're making me blush. You're making me blush, you know. But I'm not saying no, you know. It's hard to look at yourself and go, what was that? Saturday Night Skit? Something Stanley.
I don't know.
I'm beautiful. I am whatever. You look in the mirror and tell himself this stuff. And it's like, I think there's value in that. My sister got divorced when she was 27. She was married to an alcoholic. She was drinking a lot. She got into a car accident, almost killed someone. And she said, I'm getting a second chance. And she ended up going through really difficult divorce. And she handled it so well because he was angry and vindictive. And I was like, how did you walk through that the way you did? And she goes, I'd look at myself in the mirror every morning and go, Nancy, we're dignity and grace. And this woman is the epitome of dignity and grace. And she is 8 years younger than I am. And she has been such a teacher for me in the past few years and has a beautiful life, simple, has made an oasis at her home, has 3 great kids, works with kids who get kicked out of the school system. And they're very difficult, you know, have emotional, you know, trauma and physical. And she's the one they go to when they get kicked out of class. And they just adore her, and she makes them feel heard and seen and loved and valued. And I'm like, gosh, that's her gift. And she doesn't get paid enough to do it, just like you don't get paid enough to do what you do.
Do what I do. I will share this. One of the things that, and this is a really good thing, what, you know, it works. I use this a lot at work, and that is ignore the negative behavior and praise the positive. So another, you know, and what I mean by that is this is a ABA therapy, you know, if you know, ABA therapy kind of thing. And so let's just talk about little kids, and it works with your partner. Trust me. Okay. So if you ignore the negative behavior, let's go ahead and say, just think of a little situation that kind of drives you insane, or something that's drove you insane in the past. If you ignore that, kind of when it's going on, you just ignore. And then let's go ahead and say somebody helps you with the dishes, or somebody, I think the problem that we have, let me try to get my thoughts here. I think the problem that we have is we get so frustrated and we start thinking about all the negative things in our relationships, in our friendships. We get so caught up in picking out the negatives. And sometimes I'm kind of guilty of this because I have so much on my plate with especially with you. Thank you so much for taking care of me, for keeping me alive.
An old married couple.
But no, it's like if you ignore those little things and you just don't give any thought to it. But when the positive things happen, I appreciate that you did this for me, because I don't think in relationships that we actually say, I appreciate you, or
Right.
Thank you so much, or thank you for doing this. Okay, prime example. I'm going to pick on you guys for just a little bit. Okay, so, Atticus
Just moving around.
He's moving. Oh, thank you. My back was killing me. So if you were angry about the toilet seat being up and one day he puts it down, like I said, I'm just going to pick on you guys for a little while. Then you would say, oh my gosh, thank you very much. I noticed that you put the toilet seat down. I really appreciate that. But we don't do that. We're like, it's about damn time.
Right. We're
quick.
critical.
We're quick to
Yeah. And I think it's, my, in my marriage, one of the things was my husband would ask me to do little things like, don't drink out of the orange juice container, like everyone else drinks out of that. And I'm like, that's an easy fix. Okay. And there was never any, like, I appreciate you not doing that. And then I would say, could you please not leave your shoes, in the middle of the doorway, because someone's going to trip and fall, because I've almost done that, 10 or 15 times. And there was no response to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what do you do if they never do it and you don't get to praise them for it? You know what I mean? Like,
if it was me, because I think my ABA brain starts kicking in.
so how would you deal with
And I
something like
literally would pick them up and put them
That's what I did.
way further away from the door.
You'd throw them out in the yard?
No, I would not. No, I would
I
not.
have a friend who did that.
I'd throw them out in the yard.
All right.
I literally would put them and carry them way somewhere else.
Hide them.
Would you quit being?
Just doing this
She's
for
all
fun.
hide them. No, I would put them like, okay, let me just show you. Let me show you my weird door. Oh, wait, this way. So there's my front door, and it goes outside. It looks like an entranceway, but there is another door that's way over there. So if it was this house, what I would do is take the shoes that were there and I would put them way over there.
Okay.
So, and I wouldn't say anything.
Okay.
And so
I like this.
eventually
they get tired of walking
they
all the
get
way
tired
over
of
there.
walking all the way, and then they will pick up the shoe and they will put them off to the side. And that, sooner or later,
Ooh, I like
the behavior will go like, this is what I do for a living. The behavior will go up like this because they're going to try to push their limits, and then all of a sudden it crashes. Go ahead, Lou, say what?
Melissa. Oh wait. First of all, I'm going to start with. Let's see. That's so true. We're kind of grown-ups. So Ian says, Karen, I remember you used to laugh a lot when you used to do your live chats a few years ago. Hope you keep your wicked sense of humor. So do I, because it makes my day fun. And then Annie Bear says, I wrote with permanent marker, put me down. Amen. And then Melissa says, I love this, Melissa, because I totally agree with it. I find that treating adults as if they're about 3 always works. Think about how you accommodate a toddler, then think about how you don't accommodate people when they reach puberty. And my therapist said, Melissa, you need to treat, and we were talking more about men. She's like, you need to treat them like they're a three-year-old boy. How would you treat a 3-year-old boy? How do you think your husband feels right now? Think about him as a 3-year-old boy. God, I started crying. I was like,
Yeah.
lost and alone. He feels lost and alone, And I think there's a lot of truth in that. And it's not, it's simple,
Yeah.
but we make it way more complicated than it needs to be.
Well, and I don't think I think that we don't stop and consider, what men go through.
No, no.
On that daily,
It's hard to.
that daily struggle of, I had a conversation the other day with one of my guy friends, and it was like, a guy works so hard to provide a life, provide all this, and snatched away, and they have to start off with nothing, and how stressful that is, and and we don't, it's just the daily things. We always think about our struggle as females, but we don't think about the struggle a man has.
Well, and it's appreciation for that effort.
Exactly.
And I think it's also lost my train of thought. Appreciation for the effort and an understanding of the pressure
Yeah.
that they're under, because that is the role that they've played throughout not just recent history, but like back to the what's the caveman? I don't know.
Caveman days.
Not articulating this very well, but being the provider, and so, and I think it gets hard too now, because women are now also sometimes the provider, and then it's like, okay, being able to dance with that,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been like, well, I want some appreciation for that, and then I'm like, are you showing enough appreciation to your husband for that?
doing
that. And it's like, almost, I was keeping score. I'm like, I work just as hard as you do. I make just as much money as you do. I'm taking care of the kids on top of that, and whenever something needs to happen, I have to rearrange my schedule because your job's more important than mine. And so that's a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And I still haven't figured out how, is there anyone wants to comment on that? Karen, do you have?
No, I'm just laughing because
you're watching my internal struggle.
No, I'm laughing because we started this as, it's always how our
Self-worth.
conversations
We're
go.
off the
We go to, self-worth, and then we go to toilet seats, and then we go.
Look at my hot mess of care. I can't figure out how to deal with my life and not be a bitch to my ex-husband. Well, actually, my ex-husband and I get along much better now.
Yeah.
Now that we're not married, but we have learned how to communicate differently and show appreciation for each other.
Yeah.
Now
And
that
that's
we're not
good.
together. Yeah.
That's good. I was just that's why I was giggling, because I was like, this is so me and
we
you.
call this squirreling.
Squirreling.
Whoop,
Squirrel.
there.
Squirrel. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Comments.
Annie Bear, yes, they do, and it often is taken for granted, heartbreaking. And then, and you totally give a toddler points for trying and patience when they don't quite get it. And then Annie Bear says, my hubby is going to retire in a few months. Thank goodness.
Oh, that'd be good.
And then Rose Blue says, I remember years ago, my daughter gave me Father's Day cards also.
Oh.
Annie Bear says, BRB.
Be right back.
Oh, thanks. I'm new to this.
You're like,
I was an English major. It's all about full words for me versus just letters. So I'm learning a new language.
oh my God.
Okay, so Ian says Desmond Morse wrote a book called The Naked Ape, wonderful book about male and females. He said the men are the hunters and women are the hunted. When it comes to the bedroom, men are the hunted. Fact. There's a great book too, Ian, that I read, recommendation of my therapist. It's called The Way of the Superior Man. And it's written, I think, main audience for men, but as a woman, it was so helpful for me to give me perspective. And there it talks about also, men having a passion and a purpose and following their passion and purpose first. And that a woman wants a man's passion and purpose to be the most important thing in their life, not necessarily the woman being the most important thing in their life. Because if they're not living their passion and purpose, it's like this unfulfilling life, which then makes it an unfulfilling relationship. And I read it because I'm like, okay, I have just had a failed marriage here and I need to understand men more. And that book was so enlightening to me. And I've started talk to men and try to understand their perspective. I ran into a friend here in the building. His name is Nate. I had heard about him, but I hadn't met him. And then we were on the elevator one day and we're talking. And then he's like, my name's Nate. And I was like, you're the Nate I'm supposed to meet. And I was in a situation where newly separated, have not dated in years, was getting attention from men, didn't know how to deal with it and say, no, not interested. And so I'm like, well, Nate, we just met, but I've got the situation with this guy that I'm working with who I think I'm going to tell you two things about men. One is they are starved for attention, which broke my heart. And second is you need to be just very direct with them. No nuances, be as clear as you can, because that's what they want.
Yeah.
So I was pretty clear with this guy. And then he kind of was like, oh, we'll see if I change your mind. And then he tried to kiss me. And I was like, yeah, I'm not there. And then he ghosted me for like a month. And I was like, all right, that's done. And that's okay because he wants something different than I want. And then I had his business card. And this is the universe doing its work. I found it in my wallet. And I was like, well, I don't need this anymore. I threw it in the trash. 2 minutes later, I get a text from this guy. And I was like, oh, I guess he is okay being friends. That was weird. And every once in a while he gets in touch with me and he's like, I'll help you with your accounting stuff for your business. But that was enlightening for me. I had not figured that out in my life, except I do feel like I was pretty direct with my husband, but it was the delivery. It was the delivery and the appreciation. It was, I wanted to be right. And I heard this great quote by Brene Brown, who is she's a shame researcher. She's a social psychologist. And I always want to be right. And she's like, and I don't anymore because it gets you into fights. If you want to be right, you're going to fight. Remember that. And then it's not about being right. It's about getting it right.
Yeah.
And so when I start to get angry, I'm like, Melissa, do you want to be right or do you want to get it right? And what does getting it right mean? And it means listening to the other person and trying to hear their perspective. And you can agree to disagree in the end, but at least they felt heard and they had a voice.
Mm-hmm. No, I feel like today's no. Does anybody have anything to say? I think we're going to wrap it up.
And you can always tell someone by their first kiss, amen to that. So true, right? I'm not talking, we haven't kissed, but we've told stories, we share stories about people that we meet. And I remember you talking about like how weird it can be. My first kiss was with Mike Bowden in 7th grade. And I was like, that was not good. I hope that's not the way it's supposed to be. Now this man that's in my life, I knew in the first kiss. And then he said afterwards, God, your lips feel like rose petals. And I was like, the fact that he knows what rose petals feel like, he's my man.
He's my man.
He's my man. So anyway.
Dahlin says, the right relationship is the one that accepts you with all your flaws and gifts. It's about acceptance and what you can live with. What can you live it? Ian says, I could ask a lot of questions, but I won't. And Annie Bear is back. I since you said that, I really, it's like the right relationship is one that accepts you with all your flaws and your gifts. And it's about acceptance. I think that sometimes, I keep seeing these. I'm trying not to do readings, but they keep showing me things over here. But it's like, sometimes we have these magical boxes, I think, and we make it a little bit too long.
Of the list of the things we want.
Of the list of the things that we want from someone. And, and this is just my opinion, and sometimes you can, sometimes because we're so unhealed and so scared of relationships that we put all of these boxes up here. And, they're just showing me all of these little boxes and all of these things. And then people are check marking boxes here, and because they don't hit every single one,
They're looking for perfection.
they're looking, well, no, they're not really looking for
No.
protection. They're really,
Perfection.
no,
Oh, I thought you said protection.
maybe I did, because they're looking for protection so they don't get hurt, and they can go, oh, look, they don't have the 85 things that I want.
Yes, that makes sense.
You know, so it's about protecting yourself. And it's really funny to me because my friend once told me that you take 3 or 5 of the top things that mean the most to you. Like, what are you willing, like, it's just non-negotiable, you know, my spiritual, you know, business, healing, all of that stuff is non-negotiable. You know, you don't have to be on the same path that I'm on,
But have to accept your spirituality.
but you have to accept that.
Yeah.
You know, being there for, and this is just, I'm just going down the list of my stuff, you know, being there and being present, you know, because I've had people in the same room, but not present.
Yeah. Yeah.
The ability to communicate and
Okay,
to
yeah.
talk through the hard stuff. And, you know, so I really, because that's what I started doing. I was like, okay, they need this and 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 then and that's ridiculous because nobody can check all those boxes.
Well, and I think I guess the perfection comes in, you can have those 5. And they should be consistent in it, but they may not be perfect every time.
Exactly.
Right. And that's a layer of that too. But like, it's like show up, you know, reliability, be present. For me, it's honesty. It's trust.
Yeah.
It's vulnerability. And I think that's the, you know, like, you know, having the hard conversations.
Yeah. I'm just laughing because like always, you and I squirrel.
I'm sorry. I thought it was just the same
No,
topic.
it's fine. No, it's just
Self-worth. But this is all, so I would say this is all
This
tied
is.
into, because to be able to do that for others, you have to be able to rely on yourself. You have to be honest with yourself. You have to trust yourself. You have to trust yourself,
Mhm.
because you cannot move through life living your truth unless you trust it. And your truth is your trust in yourself. Those are, to me, those are interchangeable.
Well, I was looking at something. If you don't know about Esther and Abraham Hicks, or Esther Hicks and Abraham, and last night when I was walking Atticus, I was listening to something that she had posted a long time ago, and she had said something like, you know, when you're manifesting that relationship and you're wanting this relationship, the spirit, the universe, it's going to give you exactly what you put out there. So if you are unhealed and you do not have self-worth and you do not have basically your shit together, you're going to keep attracting those people that are not healed, that are not, you know, I literally kind of thought about that last night, and it's like,
If you're not healed yourself, you're
If
going to
you're not-
attract people.
you're going
that
to
aren't healed.
attract people that are not healed. You know, you're going to bring people into your life that are, you know, if you're scared to be in a relationship, you're going to attract other people that are scared to be in a relationship. And I thought about that and I processed that for a little while. And then, you know, she was saying, so if you want that perfect relationship, you need to have your self-worth. You need to have your self-love. And in finding that yourself, you will then pull in people that will have that. And I was like, wow.
I agree with that. I also think, because Bruce sent this to me. This is the guy in my life. He, being a spiritual person and accepting my spirituality to the nth degree, because I've told him things where I'm like, oh, he's going to run the other direction because I speak to my dead people. Is what I call them.
Speak to my
and they're fine with that. And he's like, oh, are you a medium? And I'm like, well, I can't speak to other people's dead people, but I can speak to mine. He's like, that's so cool. But he sent me this thing on Facebook, and it says, and I think I told you about this, and you sent me this other meme.
Mm-hmm.
Spiritual women are with men who need healing. And he's like, that is what's going on here, Melissa. So I would say my spirituality came through my healing. He is a spiritual person, and he's in the process of doing his healing. And so he he's not healed, but I think I don't know what it is, if you're twin flames or whatever, you're inevitably going to come together. And that my guide said, Melissa, you are his spiritual guide to grow his spirituality, just like you were for me. Because he sees it in me and he goes, oh, I see that in myself. I saw it in you. And I was like, oh, wait, do I have this too? And I remember the story when we met. She told me she was a psychic. And I said, I would love for you to do a reading for me. And I said, I'll pay you. And she goes, oh, you don't have to pay me. You're going to pay me with your gifts. And that's when I was like, oh, yeah, I don't think that's going to work this way. She's not getting anything out of this relationship. And then I cook for her. So that's my gift. There's more. There's more. There's more than just cooking. But yeah. So I do think that you can meet your person, not necessarily have done your healing of loving yourself.
Oh yeah.
But that if you are open to the spirituality of someone else, or whatever it is that they have that you see as a guide, that's a positive thing, right? It's leading you in the direction you want to go. Maybe you see things that are reflected, that person reflects to you of yourselves that you just can't see yet, but deep down inside they're there. And that's how I would relate to this relationship I have with this wonderful man.
So I can kind of see Rose Blue, and she says, yep,
and you can't fix them either.
I think that's this misconception where, we get into these friendships, these relationships, whatever it is. You're not going to fix anybody, because the reality is you cannot fix a person. The person is the only person that can fix and solve their own issues. And those of you that are healers out there, you need to remember this. It's like leading a horse to water. You can't make that horse drink.
Mm-hmm.
You can't, you can, I can plant a seed, but ultimately that's up to them to change. Yeah. And you can't do it for them, And so I always find that I never bought into that concept, or I'm going to fix them, or I'm going to change them. I just don't understand that. It's like, I think the biggest thing that I'm learning right now is people show you exactly who you are. It's just sometimes we don't even watch. We don't watch it and we don't look at it to see that's how they are.
We're not listening, because I think it's either we want something and we're hoping that person can bring it to us by changing, and we are going to put our time and effort into waiting for that to happen or watching it to happen, but not paying attention to the signs saying it's not happening. Or you can be with someone who is invested in their own change, their own development. And I think it comes with curiosity about themselves, about the world, about doing things a different way, about understanding someone's culture, about understanding someone's life history story, about understanding someone's spirituality, being open to that. If you're not with someone who is open and accepting of who you are, I think there's a feeling that kind of, so I describe it as, because it's been my personal experience in training, pay attention to the way you feel. If you're in a situation and it makes you feel tight, or it makes you feel cold, or you want to run in the other direction, that if you are with someone who makes you feel warm, that you feel drawn to them, I'm waiting for what Karen's going to say, there's this depth and connection, then that's probably what you should follow.
I was laughing because Do you remember a couple of weeks ago when that person wanted to be like, let's be boyfriend and girlfriend?
Yes.
And I was like,
Karen's like, I'm out of here. I'm out of here. I'm like, run, Forrest, run.
I was like, no, I don't want that.
You know, it's like our physical body is our messenger, and our physical body, and I'll say our emotions in our physical body is our messenger. And if we're paying attention, if we're really in touch with ourselves, which we have to go inside to do, and this is the work and uncovering all the self-worth and doing our own personal work, you catch on to those signals pretty quickly. And then they say, I'm making this decision now versus 23 years into a marriage.
And I think that's what was really great when you told me, pay attention to your body. What's your body saying?
Yeah.
And I was like, my body's saying run.
It's
Like,
it's so true. Like your body, when you're tired, it's your body saying, oh, sit down and do nothing or sleep. If, instead of fighting through it, if you feel a pain in your foot and it gets worse when you're running, it's like your body's saying, could you please stop? And we go, shut up. I need to do this because the world says I need to be an Olympic athlete or, a Division I hockey player or whatever it is, and we're trying to attain something we're told we're supposed to attain. And some people really want that.
Yeah.
Right. But the best athletes, when they are in touch with themselves, know how to take care of themselves. And I don't think our society and the way athletics are set up allow athletes to do that. Particularly, I have a daughter who is a really good hockey player. There is no rest. There is no off season. There are tournaments on the holidays when you're supposed to spend time with your family. And I'm like, oh, that's my job to change that system. Like, I don't know where, maybe by little steps at a time, but I'm off on another tangent. But it's really, your body's telling you how to take care of yourself. And your emotions are telling you how to take care of yourself. You want this?
Oh, thank you. I'm like, I was like,
her face is right up against the screen.
making me shiny and pretty. Yeah. I understand. Let's see. I learned a lot, ask a lot of questions, and listen to what they say and watch and do the opposite. Red flags. Melissa says, I still trust my body and how it speaks. So that's good. Well, I would say I'm tired.
Yeah.
I've been going since 5:30 this morning.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So on Wednesday, JJ is going to come on and we are going to do a healing meditation to specifically deal with, dark night of the soul stuff, cutting of cords. And then my guides are telling me a couple other things will be thrown into that. So if you would like, join us on Wednesday to do that. And I really want to thank you guys and allow, sharing our couch time and talking. And, thank you so much for joining us. And I appreciate you all and much love to you guys. And treat each other with love and kindness, and remember the men in your life or the people in your life to say thank you, and you're important and you're kind and I love you. And remember that. Don't do it because they need it, not necessarily because you expect something back. It really is about giving each other love and light and raising each other up, because when you're happy, I'm happy, and we're affecting each other. And that's what we need to know, is we all share each other's energy, and we just need to love each other a little bit more. So
thank you all. It was so wonderful to meet you. Thank you for spending time with us. Mwah.
Bye, guys. We'll see you later.